Hey everybody, and welcome back to another exciting of the VOD Squad, the show where we talk about streaming, devices, content, providers, you name it. And guess what? Everybody's back!
Hey!
Jimmy was willing to brave the threat of an impending hurricane just so he could be here. Jimmy, we appreciate it.
Hey, glad to be here. Anything I can do, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Besides that, I can't buy any damn plywood anyway.
That's okay. Because that's what hurricane insurance is for.
Oh, jeez. I do not envy being where you are. Mm.
No, up here we have to deal with blizzards and tornadoes, and now tornadoes where I'm at. So, whatever.
How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing?
Oh, I thought you said, how do you guys do it? I was like,
no,
I don't have anything to comment on that.
It's a little bit of a, psychological bridge you make to, everything's going to be okay on the other side of that. And you just kind of go push through. As they say, if you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, no, I'm doing great.
Okay, good. Well, that was good.
Well, that was awkward. I'm doing great. It's a good week back. This marks, I think, our second to last week that we will be direct to Diamond Club TV here on the Muffin CDN. I'm sad to go, but we will still be on Diamond Club TV, just originating from someplace else. Maybe Twitch,
nope.
Maybe that Microsoft thing that nobody remembers what it's called because they keep changing the name. It was Mixer. Beam like 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's Mixer.
Maybe from Alex Jones' bunker, someplace in the desert. I don't know.
No.
We'll get it figured out. We'll let you know.
Jokeman's making a great suggestion.
Maybe. Maybe. As an absolute last resort, then,
I hear they've got the bandwidth.
I hear they've got the bandwidth. The problem is, they'd probably kick us off. How sad would that be to be the show that isn't allowed on that site?
Yeah, well.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll let you guys know. In the meantime, let's look at some news.
All right. We're going to start off with a story about Roku. They announced today that they are going to be providing an ad-supported movie channel. This is the idea of them showing major Hollywood studios like Lionsgate, MGM, Sony Pictures, and Warner Brothers videos, and they'll be ad-supported, so they're absolutely free. All you need is a Roku player. And it's brand new, so obviously none of us know anything about this, right?
May have been using it for the last month.
What?
Yeah, actually, it's pretty decent. I'm kind of glad that when they started doing that as a beta, we thought they were just I thought they were just testing out channel functionality options and that kind of thing. But I had no idea. I was completely blown away today when I saw the announcement that they're actually going live with it. And
so,
I mean, I didn't use it a whole lot just because it was all movies. Now, I'm not a big movie guy, but
so you were in the beta.
I was in the beta, and I did watch the ones that they said specifically to try, and then I watched some other ones, for the sake of testing. And I mean, they had some older stuff, some newer stuff. if it wasn't for that beta, I never would have watched that. What's that recent Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he's a sheriff fighting drug dealers in like Texas?
I've seen that.
Yeah, Last Stand.
Last Stand.
Yeah.
That was probably the only reason I watched that movie, and it was on
that movie.
It was
so Schwarzenegger.
It is. It was actually kind of fun. But yeah. No, I mean, think
I
of
like
it.
that movie actually. It was an old Schwarzenegger, right?
It's modern Schwarzenegger, post Governator.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it strikes me as a lot like a Crackle or one of those other free channels that it's ad supported. The ads weren't obnoxious, and I mean, honestly, I think some of the movies I watched, I don't even think there were ads. But yeah, it may be one at the beginning.
Were they intelligent in the placement of the ads, or was it like just the middle of something? Pop, you're getting an ad for a few minutes, and then it goes back to the movie?
From what I remember, it was pretty decent. Like someone actually put some thought into it. So
okay.
And the video. How about the video quality on that?
The video quality was great. I didn't notice any bandwidth issues or any streaming issues. But then again, it was only available to a select number of people, so I don't have numbers, so I don't know how many people are using it at any given time. So that it could be problematic once they. One thing I do think is it may not be available on all platforms, because the email I got today was they are removing the test channel from all but the like highest, newest Roku. Is it the premium? But right. I don't know if that's just removing the test channel and then we're gonna download the correct channel, or I don't know what the deal is. So
I mean, would you say so? Obviously, the selection that you saw when you were using it could change significantly. But what did you think about the selection? Was it really super limited, or did they have a decent selection?
I mean, they had there was comedies. There was I watched a couple old westerns, old John Wayne westerns, like even some of his early stuff from like the 30s. There was new dramas. There was old dramas. There was kind of a smattering of everything. I think it reminded me kind of like if you remember at Best Buy, they would have those bins where they would just dump all the stuff they wanted to get rid of, and it's kind of like that. There's a little bit of everything in there, and then you're bound to find something that makes you go, yes,
but nothing that's good.
Oh no, there was lots of good stuff. I mean, I rewatched Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2. And I mean, the content changed regularly through the beta. It would just be new stuff, and then
Well, it's not clear from the article, but I would guess this is only available on Roku devices.
Yeah, because
on that, but okay.
Well, the reason is this is built through their channel store, the same thing that people were using for Bad, which got them banned in Mexico. You remember? And that's actually how we tested it. It was a private link that went out. But so I kind of wonder if they did this to prove that, hey, we can do good things with the channel store. So
yeah, it almost smells like they're trying to do the Netflix model, right? So you start off with like say a movie channel, where you get a lot of on-demand movies there that you can choose from. A back catalog of stuff like John Wayne movies and that kind of thing. Yeah. And then what would come next? Would they start producing their own content?
You got to remember, this may be a first step because they need to add. I think they want to increase ad revenue. Because their IPO is coming up, I think, this weekend.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's Friday is their IPO. So anything they can do to prove that they have a future beyond just the hardware, I think that's why the announcement was right now.
Makes sense. It seems like a good idea for them to be working on that. It's just, I don't know. It's just the fact that it's another siloed service that you can't get on any other platform. So
yeah.
But that's being said, Roku is basically the standard everybody is based off.
It's a way for them to make money off of advertisers and in the process give their Roku customers something usable for free. So, I mean, who doesn't want a free service?
I don't know.
If it's got something useful, great. If it doesn't, who cares, right?
Yeah, and if you don't use it,
free service.
You know, if it doesn't appeal to you and you don't use it, oh well, you know.
It's like Amazon Prime Video, right? Like, there's nothing to complain about that service. You're buying Prime for shipping, assuming you're buying Prime for shipping and for taking advantage of that, then you can't really complain about them having Prime Video, even if it's absolutely atrocious. Because you bought that for something else, and you just don't have to use it if you don't like it. So this fits into that category. It's awesome when they add features that some people are going to like and that don't cost you anything.
Yeah, and I will add, as Jotman pointed out, or he put the link, the movies that they were showing, they're not, some obscure movies. They're from like Lionsgate, MGM's, and Sony and Warner Brothers. So, these are big name movies. And the selection varied wildly, and that's not a bad thing.
What would be the newest movie? More than a year old?
Probably. I think I could bring it up, but I won't.
No, that's fine.
Speaking of Amazon, we got some news about Amazon. They've got their new they've got set-top boxes on sale, and they may not sound like a big deal, but apparently they've never really been on sale
they don't put Fire TV on sale.
Yeah, there's the Fire TV boxes on the Fire TV second generation box is $90.
I think like looking at the Kindles and stuff, the only time they put stuff on sale is when stuff is going away,
right?
So,
and now
or being replaced,
or brand new, right? Like when they're testing the waters for things. So, like with the Echo, it was cheaper.
Well, the Echo's always been on sale. I don't think I've ever seen the Dot not on sale.
It was for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, the full, like, I paid $100 for the full Echo, right?
Oh, okay.
It's $180 now. So they did a sale for Prime members early on to get some adoption and to get it out there so they could start using it and start getting some, probably largely just so that they could get the recordings of what people are saying and how it works and being able to optimize the algorithms and stuff. That way, when they started selling it at $180, people didn't think it was awful.
Now here's the thing. It's, normally the Fire TV stick is $39.99, and it's now on sale for $34.99. It says that this is a $5 discount. Doesn't sound massive, but it's the best deal we've seen in all of 2017 on the Fire TV, and the best deal you will see until Black Friday.
So basically, it's a fire sale.
Nice.
I think we've got our show title.
Possibly.
That's funny.
Yeah. But,
Jokeman beat me to it.
Moving on to the next story, though.
So we also have Plex making an announcement today that
you skipped over one.
What? No, I didn't.
Well, what about the one where Amazon may launch 2 new Fire TV devices this fall?
Well, there is a rumor, and there have been lots of people who've been digging into various updates that there is going to be 2 new devices possibly coming this fall. That's the reason why we might be having the
fire sale.
Yes.
That would be my assumption. So yeah, rumors say that, there might be new hardware, and it's about time because
It's been 2 years.
I mean, there was a mild upgrade in the hardware last year when they added Alexa. Remember, because I bought my current Fire TV stick in October, November, when we did the 30-day trial, and then the new hardware came out shortly thereafter, the slightly beefier. But
so I'm trying to think about this, and Mike, maybe you would be able to say better than me since you own one of these. But what features would they add in the new device? What is it lacking?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on which version you have, right? Like, if from the stick perspective, the sticks don't have the 4K, do they? Right? Like, the sticks are just 1080p, but the boxes do have 4K. So you don't. I don't know what I would want to see added. You've already got 4K. You've got, you've got pretty good wireless. Maybe you add AC. I don't know what they have on there right now.
How about if you were to add Alexa to it as well?
Well, it already has speech recognition, right? And that's done through Alexa. So that's what you get if you bought the last version. And are we setting everybody's off?
Apparently.
So that's working well, and I don't find it as useful on the Fire TV as I do actually on the Echo device itself. I use the Echo on a regular basis. We don't hardly ever talk to the Fire TV except for when we're looking for a specific show. Unfortunately, that usually ends up meaning we buy it. So my daughters yesterday, they wanted to watch Disney Descendants or something, and so it was, instead of trying to search it, I just asked for it. It brought it up. It took me right to the purchase page, and I could rent it or buy it. So I bought it for $7, and it was easy. So that was pretty convenient. It does what it's supposed to do. I don't feel like it doesn't feel as full featured and useful as what you get out of the Echo, but the one thing I do think that it might do is maybe provide better support for some of the higher end features for TVs, and I don't know how much difference it would make, but the super ultra HD and stuff like that.
That was the thing. They were the current speculation is that new Fire TV sticks would incorporate 4K because current models don't support that.
Well, it'll be the first stick to do 4K, except for the Chromecast.
Yeah, they need to do it soon before if they're going to stay ahead of Apple. So
now, Mike, does the Fire TV have HDR built into it? Because I'm thinking maybe that might be a feature.
I don't remember. I mean, the Fire TV box that I have, it does have 4K, but it doesn't have HDR, the boxes, but not the sticks. So you have to make that upgrade. Right. So if the sticks add 4K, that would be a good improvement.
Yeah.
I don't know if it supports HDR or not, but that's one of the things that I'm talking about with the Ultra HD, Ultra 4K, which would probably account for the HDR functionality and stuff like that. If it adds that, that's great. Most of us that have 4K TVs now are getting HDR compatible 4K TVs.
Correction. The Fire TV 2 can handle 4K video, but only up to 30 frames per second.
Right.
And then it looks like the AFTN code name hardware also supports HDR content. So that will allow it to compete with the Rokus and Google TVs that are already 4K and HDR compatible.
That sounds cool.
There we go.
Word.
Okay, well, now we're going to talk about Plex.
Yes.
Plex has announced that they have their live TV support, that you can use one of the streaming boxes that they are compatible with and stream live TV and DVR shows on their interface. And they've now have support available on Amazon's Fire TV and on the web interface. So more possibilities for you to watch your content live using whatever box you like.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this. I was so close to purchasing one of these, with the silicon dust home run, and so I could just pick up my channels and put it right onto my DVR. Now there's a web interface, so I'm even more tempted. So it's a minor investment for me to do it. So, but
absolutely,
still, it's so the Plex interface is so nice.
All right,
Cool.
and then
So, go ahead.
Can I backtrack 1 second?
Yes, you can. We're going to go back to the Amazon Fire, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just pulled it up on the Amazon site, and the Fire TV is currently unavailable. And
Wow.
we don't know when or if this item will be back in stock.
Oh.
So that's the TV, not the stick. But
oh yeah, well the TVs
Pretty
didn't
clear.
do so well.
Well, yeah, but if it was available recently. I mean,
No, let me clarify. Are you talking the TV box or the actual built-in
no,
TV?
just the little box. Fire TV
okay.
that's like that, right?
Gotcha.
So those are no longer available, and the Fire Stick is on sale. So that paints a pretty clear picture,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I agree.
I think so.
So sorry,
It's
got
okay.
sidetracked there.
Thanks for the breaking news.
Yes, breaking news.
I
No
gotta add a little scrolling thing that says breaking news for those. I'll get on it for next show.
All right, we have a story from T-Mobile. They announced a new plan for one of their unlimited family plans, where you can go ahead and sign up and get the family plan, and they will pay for Netflix for you. So, in other words, you pay for T-Mobile's family plan, you don't have a bill for Netflix. It's already built into your T-Mobile plan. This is basically their next thing that they're trying to do to try to convince people to move over to the T-Mobile platform. Every week or month or so, they come out with another cool idea to make this happen. So
Yeah, T-Mobile, they're the scrappy upstarts, the underdogs that are not willing to try, or that are always willing to try something weird. Yeah, I dig it. My main question is, why did they choose this guy to be their spokesperson? Is that somebody I should know?
That's the CEO.
He's the CEO.
I was
And
like,
he likes to drop F-bombs during his announcements.
I was looking at him. I was like, that's a really weird direction to go with here. Normally they'll put like pretty people up. And I was trying to think, well, maybe he was like some sports ball guy or something, and that maybe I didn't know. Okay, that explains it.
No, he always makes the announcement, and so he always is very enthusiastic about what's going on, and
does he put the T in mobile?
But see, what this play is all about is that AT&T and Verizon, right, have their bundle packages, like TV, or they like AT&T does the DirecTV Now, and Verizon's got one of their streaming on demand services bundled in with theirs too. So now T-Mobile is playing in that field too by teaming up with Netflix to offer free Netflix along with your service.
I think this is an interesting concept. I think ultimately, I don't know, like I talk to people about their cell phone service, and they seldom talk about how they care about the price. Price often comes up a little bit, but far more often people talk about the quality of service, or how much they hate the customer service, or how they don't hate the customer service here, but they really hated it with AT&T, Verizon, whatever, fill in the blank.
Right.
And so I don't know that this kind of thing where you're just like promoting a savings is going to drive adoption for the service.
Oh, you'd be surprised, because I've wanted to jump ship from AT&T and go to T-Mobile for a while now, and they keep doing these things that make me go, oh, I wish I could, but I'm kind of stuck in, and it's, yeah.
Well, I made the, I think I've said this before on the show, but a little over 2 years ago, I made the switch from AT&T to T-Mobile, and glad I did. And you know, a lot of people talk about the coverage. Well, I don't get good coverage where I live.
I mean, yeah,
but I know here in Florida, you know, I get good coverage here. And one thing that I did notice, my parents live in a rural area of Georgia, and I think it was last year, or maybe it was the year before last. T-Mobile rolled out the LTE in where my parents live, and I have to say the bandwidth is really good up there. Good strong signal at my parents' house, and I get like about 20 to 30 megabits per second download up there.
You know, and that's one of those things, unfortunately, with any service. Your mileage may vary based on where you are. Because some places they're working on really old infrastructure. Even, you know, like I usually have to explain to people when they're talking about like their internet service or whatever, is with one company, it may work awesome in one neighborhood and not in the other, because that one neighborhood, that's brand new infrastructure that they just laid out a couple years ago, whereas they're still using 30-year-old infrastructure in this other place, and the quality isn't necessarily as good. And that's the thing that I think really plays into this the most, is because some people, they would, you know, love these cost savings, but they can't do it because, like what W. Scottis was saying, is it works good in his apartment. He's got T-Mobile, but when he leaves his apartment, it's not so good. And
I mean, I'm in an interesting situation. I'm with Verizon, and like my whole family is on the same family plan, so it would be really difficult for me to change. And while I know I could get a better deal by switching my family over to another plan, most of the country that I've been in, Verizon is vastly superior. However, I'm now in a place where Verizon is not the best,
right?
And it's actually by far the worst that I've ever experienced Verizon. A lot of where I am, I get like 2 bars, which still is functional, and so I don't get too upset about it. But everywhere else I've ever been, pretty much, including like out in the country in the middle of nowhere, I've had really good reception with Verizon, and a lot of places where I got Verizon that nobody else did. So that's kind of kept me with them. At this point, I'd kind of be willing to switch, but then it's so much work, you know, when you've got a whole family on a family plan of 7 phones, and it's like...
Yeah, and, you know, for a contrasting reason, that's one reason why I did go to T-Mobile, because my wife does happen to be European, and if you go over to Europe, T-Mobile's quite good over there, right?
Yeah.
You get the data included in with your plan. It's only 2G speeds, but you still at least get data over there, and you also get texting as well, and you can make phone calls for like 20 cents a minute. So when we go to my wife's home country of Ukraine, you know, it works pretty well, to where if, like when I was with AT&T, it would, you know, either I wouldn't have any service at all, or it would cost me a lot to be able to use my phone at all over there.
Yeah. Well, I'm the odd duck out because I'm not using Verizon or AT&T. I'm using Google Fi, so I get to use Sprint and T-Mobile and the U.S. Cellular, which is nice because where I work, nothing's good except for U.S. Cellular, and so
I thought up where you live, the only thing that works is a Windows Phone. And that's also the only place where the Windows Phone actually works.
No,
it doesn't matter what your provider is. If it's a Windows phone, you'll be fine.
No, you'll notice that a lot of places in Washington State, where they may, you know, have this program where they hand out phones to like their fire department or something like that. No Windows phones. Don't know why.
Well, a lot of those places were, but the Windows phones have now been dropped, and there's a big problem because all these government entities that invested in the Windows Phone infrastructure now have to replace. That was on DTNS a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh, it could be worse. They could have went with BlackBerry.
There are plenty of companies that did.
Well, one thing that is in like one of the things relating to this article, though, I look at what's happening with Verizon right now and the changes that they're making based on kind of like the load that they're getting in their infrastructure because they've offered once they switched to unlimited for everybody. I wonder if doing something like this has the potential to like kind of start to hurt a company like T-Mobile. They are not probably as utilized as Verizon because Verizon's so much larger and has so many more customers. But it seems possible that would be something that they could hurt themselves with by, you give out accounts to Netflix. Most people have the Netflix accounts already, but you give it out and you start to kind of link the idea of, oh, Netflix and T-Mobile, they go together. So Netflix on my phone goes together. And now people start watching a lot more Netflix. I don't know if they're doing anything like what Verizon is doing with controlling how much bandwidth you get through to your phone and stuff like that.
They are now.
But I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens there long term.
Yeah, I think T-Mobile, when you're streaming, I know it's true when you do YouTube, but I think it's Netflix as well. It doesn't count against your data.
Yeah, right. T-Mobile does not count any of those bingeable things for most of the companies. Now it's all unlimited, so now it's kind of whatever.
So it doesn't count against your data, but now you're really unlimited. But I don't know that. I mean.
So here's the thing: it's Verizon. I know we've turned this show into the cellular.
Hey, we needed a topic. We
okay.
got our topic.
But Verizon, everybody likes their phone company, whoever they currently have, and they always have some kind of problem. No. Seriously, how long have you been with AT&T?
I've been with AT&T for 10 years, and I want to leave so bad.
Why have you been with them?
Because I get a 25% discount through an old job.
There you go.
It's the cost.
People do well, yes and no, because there are plenty of people who love Verizon because it's the best thing ever, even though it costs more. It did for the longest time, and they wouldn't care because it's the best service that I can get and everywhere I go. People generally don't like change, so people generally want to keep the thing they've got until they get to that pain point where it's like, oh, I just can't make phone calls. I keep dropping calls or whatever. There's something pain point that's getting them to the point where they're willing to make that switch. So as long as Verizon keeps their service working, they'll probably keep their loyal customers, and there's probably a ton of them. The thing that the T-Mobile is doing here is pushing out all these little tiny things, these little tiny hooks that might catch a few people at a time. Just like, okay, I wasn't really into it when you guys were doing this thing where it was giving us, a free unlimited streaming. That was cool, and hey, I'm really happy because, now I got unlimited through Verizon too, and I really don't need this Netflix thing. I'm already paying for Netflix and all that. But maybe there's that one thing like that free pizza on Tuesdays. Seriously, they gave out free pizzas on Tuesdays.
Oh, and they do free movies like every couple weeks.
Maybe that's the thing that pushes somebody over, and they're just throwing. It's the shotgun method here. T-Mobile's trying everything, so good on them. I'm really happy that they're trying so hard, and they're expanding their network. It still doesn't work where I work, so we're gonna get that. So, well, it's still good. But we'll see. Most people stick with what they want for a long time, and it's hard to change. Like a whole family wants to decide to move. It's hard to do that. So,
and ultimately, that's what they're banking on, right? They're banking on somebody like me deciding, oh, those free pizzas or the free Netflix or whatever is worth switching. So I go through the hassle to switch, and I realize how much it sucks to switch everything over and get everything set up. And, you buy new phones and you get all committed to T-Mobile, and then you stay. So that's because eventually they'll have to stop giving away all this free stuff and luring people in. Now, maybe they can keep the Netflix deal going basically indefinitely, but all of the incentives eventually have to end, and they have to start making money off of their customers instead of just and fortunately, as you said, the cellular service is kind of sticky. People stick with it for a long time because it's a pain in the butt, it's expensive to change, and
Well, I think the contracts is what makes it sticky, though.
As much as I hate you, AT&T, the service has been great. I never have a problem. The only time I have a problem with my signal is when I'm someplace where it's obvious you're obviously going to have a problem, like in the data center underneath US Bank Stadium, under so many layers and layers of concrete. Yeah, but actually that was a bad example because in the data center is the DAS, and that's the array for the cellular. So no, not there, but but yes, I mean places like that. But all right,
I'm actually going to move on to the next story now.
Yeah, let's go. We're going to get stuck.
Okay, we have a story about Fubo TV, and they've gone ahead and added both the NFL Network and now the NFL Red Zone to their service. You're able to get, this is the what a lot of people were wondering: when are we going to be able to watch a lot of football on Fubo TV? And it looks like now it is available with those services available.
Ironically, in order to watch a lot of football on Fubo TV, it has to be football season. I never would have guessed that.
Which starts tomorrow.
College.
All I know is this guy is like so excited he's going to do a backflip.
Yeah, totally. That's why he's doing it.
Yeah.
Football TV!
The only football that really matters already started, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, we have a story about the Bond film franchise and the fact that their distributor was Sony, and the Sony's contract ran out, and so they're looking for to make a new deal for the new distributor, and so Sony, of course, is in the running, and so is other big companies like Warner Brothers, but also throwing their hat in the ring are Amazon and Apple. So, are you ready to have James Bond brought to you by Apple?
Nah.
Well,
I honestly don't care.
James Bond probably does use a Mac. I will say.
He's British. They don't have Macs in England. I honestly have no opinion on this. I checked out on Bond sometime during what's his face from
Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan. And I did not see a single one from the last guy and the current guy, so whatever.
Well, Daniel Craig, in my opinion, has really done a good job. So
I second that.
Yeah, I'm really happy with what they've done. He's done with it, isn't he? The last one was his last one, wasn't it?
He's doing another.
Oh, one more?
Yeah, it's him in the picture.
My guess is that this would expire with 2015 Spectre. Maybe it would include this new one. But I love Bond. I mean, this is like since I was a little kid, I've been watching the Bond movies with my dad, and now, so I'm a huge Bond fan. I always want to see them whenever they come out. I buy most of them, so I'm a little annoyed, though. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a fan of Apple in any way, shape, or form. So the idea of them getting into Bond, where they could start to exert their influence. I mean, we really do not need a super hipster James Bond. That's yeah. So
you don't want James Bond to be driving around wearing Beats by Dre, and while typing on his iWatch.
So what? It'd have an iPhone logo on
it, and driving like what? I don't know what do hipsters drive? Minis.
So when he uses CarPlay in his Aston Martin,
right?
That would upset you.
See, but that's the part where Mike would actually be interested.
Yes, I mean that's the best part is when he gets in his Aston Martin, like drives his car.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean that's Amazon doesn't concern me as much. Amazon has shown that they are capable of being relatively hands off with the shows and letting these like pseudo studios, whatever it is that they, however they phrase it, the studios take their creative and do something amazing with it.
Yeah, because my thing is, I don't trust Apple to allow them to do the movie the way they want to do it, because Apple's whole thing, the thing they keep telling everybody, and the whole reason that people buy their stuff is because we're Apple, we do it our way, and you know,
their mantra is,
I wouldn't agree with that.
Absolute control of every detail. I mean, that's like they talk about how much effort they put into the amount of curvature on the corner of the iPhone.
Exactly.
And that's the kind of finesse that works for an electronic device that you handle and hold and stuff. That is not the kind of finesse you need on a movie.
No, that's the kind of thing that can kill.
I would disagree with that. I mean, when you're talking about hardware, sure, you're spot on, right? They're going to control that, right? But when you're talking about making movies, I don't think so. I mean, for example, I became a Apple Music subscriber not too long ago, and when you watch the Carpool Karaoke, there's nothing in there that's branded Apple or anything else, and they don't influence the creativity of that, So I don't think they would do that. Would they sell it on other platforms if they gain control over it? I would think they would. I think they'd still do the same distribution. I don't think they would limit that in any way.
Yeah.
But I don't think they would. Now, would all of a sudden James Bond when he uses a laptop, it's going to have the Apple logo versus a Dell logo? Yeah, probably. Right. But outside of that, I don't really see them getting into the creative process there.
Yeah, that would be my concern. I mean, Apple is a company that is notoriously famous for being hard up on the creative process for the stuff they make, the software that they make and the hardware that they make. As long as they can step back and not do that with the Bond films, then it probably doesn't really matter ultimately what company owns the license. But the problem is that company does potentially have the ability to influence that.
Yeah,
I mean, you can look at what Disney has done with some of the stuff that they've bought. They definitely have an impact on what happens there, and I'm okay with what's happening with Star Wars so far, but if it keeps getting like kind of the Disney like formulaic treatment of, we know exactly what it takes to make a blockbuster movie, so we're going to make a blockbuster movie out of every Star Wars movie and it starts to lose the character and the charisma of what Star Wars was in order to be that blockbuster mold, then that's problematic. We'll find out here in a few months if Disney sanitized Star Wars to the point that it's no longer anything more than a blockbuster movie and nobody really loves it. And that would be the kind of things that I would be concerned about with Bond, is that, a studio a company buys the licensing rights and then comes in and builds a blockbuster movie that is supposed to do amazing at the box offices, but doesn't have what the essence of Bond really is.
Yeah.
Well,
see, and that was what I was.
Rights.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Is for me, it's trust. See, with Disney's got 100 years of experience. You can look back at the stuff they put out. So when they take over something, I'm a little bit more forgiving until it's out, because hey, I know they've got a track record that they can do good stuff. Apple doesn't have that yet in this medium, which is why my level of distrust is a lot higher than it would be if, let's say, maybe it was Amazon. Because, yeah, I've seen the stuff that Amazon's put out, and again, not all of it was good, but,
we're only talking about distribution here, right?
Yeah, but they can influence things as the distributor. Well, okay, let's look at this from Apple does point of view. Apple does two things, really, maybe more, but really they sell products, hardware you can buy, and they exert their control over that completely. That's what they do.
Oh, absolutely.
And then they sell movies and music and apps, and they want to get their 30%. And when they sell their music and their apps,
which is distribution, correct?
Right. When they do that, when they own that market, like when they own the Beatles, you can get it on any other service. So would you like it so you could only watch your James Bond movies on your iTunes?
I don't think they would just. Yeah, but I mean, I think they would do the. I mean, maybe, but I mean, but so could Amazon, right?
Sure, Amazon could do that.
But the thing is, in either case, I don't think it would be in their best interest if they were to just lock it up just in their ecosystem and not let anybody else in.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if MGM would agree to that kind of a deal too, right? Like that would probably impact the total sales and the viability of the brand. So
they could take their history of what they did with the Beatles track and say, hey, here's what we're doing. Obviously you're going to have your new releases and they're going to come out for rental and people are going to buy it, but when it comes to renting it on, getting it on your for you to own, it's going to be on iTunes. It's going to be only there. You know, that's the possibility of how things could go, because for the longest time you couldn't get your any kind of Beatles music except through iTunes. There was a lock on that, and they've done a similar thing. Did they have a lock on Harry Potter for a while? I mean, the audiobooks. It's just they've done this kind of thing before, where they've locked down.
But it would be a time limit on it, right? Just an exclusive for a certain amount of time.
But Disney did the same thing for years and years with they created false scarcity by saying, well, we're only going to sell this movie for the next 6 months, and then it won't be around until like 10 years later. And
the vault.
Well, okay, so that was a scarcity market of it, but it was for sale for anybody, anywhere. You could get it there. You didn't have to go to the Disney store to buy it. No.
Right.
You didn't have to have a Disney branded DVD player or VHS to play it. So that's where it kind of crosses the line. And so I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's what's happening.
Yeah, and I think if either one of those companies, and we're talking mainly about either Amazon or Apple, if either one of them did do that, said, hey, only us and nobody else, right, that you can get this from, it'd be a big mistake.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd be okay with it for Amazon.
You'd still be able to get it.
Even though Amazon is my ecosystem of choice, I would not be okay with it. I agree. I mean, and I think it would be a big mistake business-wise, especially for MGM, who would ultimately get less sales. And that's why I would be surprised that they would do it, if they would do that, because if you look, Apple doesn't even have 50% of the market anymore. Early on, they did. They had iTunes dominated the music market, and so it was easy enough for them to do that. Now there is such a huge Android market that
it's been that way for like 5 years at least.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, but what I'm saying is, it would not make sense for a company like MGM to allow that to happen.
Right.
Now, I could see an 8-month or a 6-month window where they say, okay, it's going to be in theaters, and then you're going to have exclusive distribution rights for 6 to 8 months after it leaves theaters, and then it'll be able to sell at all of the other stores and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I'd be surprised if it was a long-term distribution block. So,
word.
Well, whatever happens, we're going to keep an eye on it. We're interested to see what happens here.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, well, there was one last thing, right?
Anybody here use Facebook?
Nope. What's
Me
that?
No.
Not really.
No, I don't use it.
Oh, friend face. Friend face.
Friend face.
Friend feed. I remember friend feed. No, wait. Apparently, they've launched their own little YouTube knockoff called, what do they call it? Watch, which is a button you can click now on your Facebook feed in order for you to watch the various things that they have going on.
Weren't they calling that Facebook Live?
No, this is more shows. This is more stuff that they've got put together. For example, they've got Micro, doing a show on there, and they've got some publications apparently from National Geographic on there. So
is
we'll
micro tiny?
Oh, that joke is really old.
I don't know. I've never heard it before.
So it's their YouTube competitor, and I'm curious how well it's going to work. I suspect they will get a decent amount of traction and people clicking on things, but I don't think it's going to be nearly as big as YouTube is.
I actually, earlier today, I ended up on that screen by accident.
Oh, yeah?
I sneezed while I was using my phone, and it kind of went, and then all of a sudden there was all this video stuff, and I was like, I couldn't figure out how to get out of it without clicking on something, and so I just killed the app.
That's more often than not, that's what I'm doing when I, like, for whatever reason, choose to go into Facebook for a moment. More than often than not, it's 1 or 2 minutes later, and I'm like, whatever, just die, go away, and I kill the app. I really don't like Facebook anymore. I never really did like it that much. I never really used it very much, but with the video thing is driving me crazy. There's just like mountains of videos that are on your feed or whatever, your wall, whatever it is called nowadays. And they auto start when you scroll past them. That annoys me. I think it's stupid. And
you can turn that off.
Oh, can you?
Oh yeah, that's in the settings.
That's too far for me. That's more effort than I'm willing to put into the Facebook app. I never installed the Facebook Messenger just because I didn't have any desire to let Facebook that much farther into my life. So I think for me, Facebook is a dead thing. Like, I totally don't understand why people.
I wish I don't use it. Just I've stopped, and my last post was, I'm done. Find me some other way.
Like I said, I ended up in that video section, and I couldn't get out of there fast enough.
Yeah.
Facebook is primarily at this point good for coordinating events and keeping in touch with people you actually care about that you will never see or you haven't seen in 20 years.
Right.
Because you don't actually have to get stuck in a conversation if you were to call them.
Right.
It's not worth, getting carpal tunnel from having to write out letters.
Right.
And then you don't dare give them your email address because then they might never. That. Yeah. So that's what Facebook's good for. Other than that, it's just grandmas and angry people.
Right.
So it sounds like to me that for this new video service, you guys just can't wait to miss it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
I am curious about one other thing. I mean, like, it seems like when I talk to my nieces who are like in high school, they don't use Facebook that much anymore either. So I wonder, like, what the prospectus is on something like this. Like, the younger kids, the youth, the newer generations aren't using Facebook very much. I don't think this kind of thing is going to pull them in. And the older generation, apparently, if we're representative of it, are not interested in it either.
No, there's it's still growing. There are almost 2 billion people on it now, and
maybe this is more of an international play. Maybe this is let's start it in America because that's our market, and where they are currently growing is internationally, and maybe this is them trying to make a play for video internationally.
All I can say is this isn't working very well.
Oh, it's a puppy. That's a big dog, actually.
Is this?
Wow.
It's something about a dog with
is this
lost her legs.
A commercial?
No, this is the video.
Oh.
It was the first thing I saw. Something about a dog with no legs.
Story on Facebook video, and I remember.
Okay.
Okay.
A video of handicapped animals. Yeah, that's.
Well, no, I mean, actually, it's kind of enlightening in the fact that the dog gets to walk again. But
it's the Hallmark Channel and the Pet Channel combined.
It's Dodo. something.
Why do I get the feeling that video is going to ask you for a donation?
Oh, probably. It's on
That's why I
Facebook.
asked if it was a commercial, because I was expecting like a Humane Society type commercial promotion, the ASPCA or something. It's like,
I don't know.
The poor dog was abused, and donate now. Just add some
Facebook equals a dog with no legs. All right. I don't know. I don't get it. I keep saying, the more options, the better. But I don't see myself getting sucked into this one. It took like almost 10 years before I started really using YouTube. So, yeah, I don't know.
I think like that's the thing. Ultimately, it's another option, and unless it hurts your experience in Facebook and you use Facebook, then who cares, right? Or, yay, I'm excited, right? Like that should, in my opinion, be kind of the thing. Yeah, I'm going to give you my analysis of what I think, but at the same time, ultimately, I don't care. It's not going to affect me. I'm not going to use it. It's not going to be beneficial to me. And as long as it doesn't negatively impact you, then I don't think people should be upset about it. Though people will be, because it's a change to what they're used to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just seems like it's a play. It's Facebook doing what they've been doing with Instagram, where they see a product that they think that they can elbow their way into it, and they will get a certain amount of market share, and we'll see if it sticks or not. And it might be a big player. We'll see. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe. Oh, well. And that is our weekly news, guys. We've gone through all the stories, a couple of them longer than we expected to.
Hey, one quick question, though, for everybody. And I don't know if you guys talked about this last week, but there was a rumor I saw where Apple was trying to do some deals with movie studios to bring 4K content to iTunes, like for rentals and that kind of thing, and buying 4K content.
I believe we talked about that last week, but yes.
Oh, yeah, so, if you would have joined us.
Yeah, I was.
That's all right. No, don't be mean.
Yeah, I was out of town, sorry guys.
It's okay.
But the question came up. So Apple is battling the studios about keeping the price of, like, say, $19 for the 4K content, right? For purchasing the movie, and apparently the studios must want it to be something higher than that. Maybe $25 or $30 for
$25 to $35, depending on the movie, is what they were asking.
So what's your guys' opinion about that? Would paying an extra $5 for 4K, you think that would be worth it?
I don't care.
My opinion is that I'm happy Apple is fighting the good fight here. This is where they are taking their influence and doing the right thing with it and trying to keep the price down. Mm-hmm. If it was $24.99 versus $19.99 for, because how much is the HD version right now? It starts at $12.99, goes up to $15.99 or something like that. So if it started at a low end of $15 and ended up at the high end of $25, it's what the Blu-rays cost right now. Now, that being said, it's just bits. So, yeah, I think being the lower price is fine. My original reaction to this during the show last week was, this is way too expensive for rental. And I didn't realize that those are the purchase prices. So, it's like, geez, $20 to rent a movie?
What is this, 1985?
Back then, it wasn't quite that much, unless you're getting a double tape.
For me, it's 25%. I'm willing to pay 25% more.
That sounds fair.
For 4K from 1080p. I won't buy anything that's not 1080p, period. Right. But I will pay 25% more to get 4K. Yep. So if it's $20, I'll pay the extra $5 to get 4K. The Ultra 4K movies that I've seen, Blu-rays that I've seen at the store, have been like 50% more. So instead of a $20 Blu-ray, it's $30 or more for the Ultra 4K Blu-ray. And I'm not willing to pay that much unless I'm super excited about the movie. Now, I might for something like Star Wars, I would shell out whatever it costs to get me the best version of the movie.
I'm with you there.
But anything else, normal movies, like movies for my kids, I wouldn't pay more than 25%. So I'm okay paying 25. If the normal price for a 1080p movie is 20, I'm okay paying 25. Do I think it's nice that Apple is trying to exert a little bit of influence and keep the prices reasonable and down? Yeah, but I wouldn't give up quality and functionality and availability for that. So,
right.
As long as they're not causing any problems in the process of doing that.
Yeah, and I think I'm with you there, Mike. If it's just like $5 more for it, yeah, I'd go along with that. But if they started making it like 30, $10 more, 30, then I'd be like, it'd have to be something like Star Wars for me to buy it at that price.
Yeah, see, I don't have a 4K TV, so I'm not willing to pay any more. I mean, honestly, half the time SD is perfectly fine for me. A couple weeks ago, I was renting a movie on Amazon, and it was like $250 more for the HD version. I went, I'll save the $250. Yeah, and I watched it in standard definition, and it was perfectly fine. So
So I can give you a perfect example here. Like, my daughter has just finished reading the Harry Potter books, and we owned every single Harry Potter movie. And after she finished reading the book, we let her watch the movie. But we bought the first 4 movies on DVD because it was far enough back.
Yeah.
That I wasn't like, I'm never going to be able to afford Blu-rays and a Blu-ray player. So we bought them on DVD, or maybe they weren't even available.
Well, I was going to say, the first 4 came out before Blu-rays, so yeah.
Yeah, so I had DVDs, and I watched the first one in standard def, in DVD quality, so that's 480p. And I was just, it drove me crazy. It was so bad. I'm not doing it. So I bought every other movie in HD after that. And so now I've got the digital HD versions of everything from 2 up, and up till 4 or 5 when I started buying the Blu-rays. And then I have the Blu-rays. So I'm willing to, I can't handle standard def anymore. You've got a high quality TV, and you put it up on a 55-inch screen. It is dramatically worse. And when I mean it is huge. When you compare standard to HD,
yeah, if you're watching it on something like a 4K TV where you've got that massively increased pixel density, yeah, the flaws become apparent. But when you're watching on my 1080p TV that's fit the same size, where the pixels are much further apart, it's not, the difference is not that dramatic.
Yeah. Right. Well, the other thing that is noticeable is the richness of the color contrast too, because the things like Harry Potter, where there's a lot of dark scenes, the blacks are noticeably more true with the HD content, and the shadows are more, you can see what's in the shadows a lot better. So it really is just dramatically different.
Yeah.
Like I said, I won't do standard definition if it's possible to avoid it anymore.
Right.
Word.
Yeah, it makes me sound a little stuck up, but
no, you're fine.
No. And I'll be joining you, Mike. Assuming that I survive the hurricane, I too will be buying a 4K television later this year.
Yeah, good thing you didn't buy it now, just in case.
I just ripped a bunch of movies onto my Plex server, and they're all DVD rips, and so they're all low quality, and we play them on the big 55-inch TV, not at 4K, just at the 1080p, and looks fine to us. I'm guessing once you've gone over that bridge, it's hard to come back. So that's the hint for everybody. Just never.
Well, and just a warning: if anybody out there is thinking about taking the plunge and getting one of those 8K TVs, you're going to be saying the same thing about that 4K content. Is just like, it's so bad.
It's the worst.
Sandpaper on my eyes.
4K show again. What crap is that?
Sandpaper on my eyes. Oh.
Sometimes you can see the high resolution, and it's obviously was never intended for high resolution like that, because you can start seeing the makeup. It's such a problem. It's like, oh man, I wish this was in 1080p because the makeup looks so bad.
Make sure you turn off the frame interpolation on your LCD TV so you can get rid of that plasticky video soap opera effect.
Yeah.
I hate that. Some people love it. I hate it.
I for animation, I like it.
Oh, I could see, because animation's different, but yeah.
Right. For animation, like a Pixar movie, it actually looks awesome. But yeah, it looks so weird. All right.
All right. Hey, should we get into some rants and raves?
You mean that's not what we've been doing?
Jotman, your video.
No!
All right. Hey, that was rants and raves. But... All right. Let's make this official. Who's got something they want to say?
I do.
All right.
We all do.
Go.
Okay. So I want to make a rant. And since we've been talking about fires all day today, I'm going to go ahead and continue talking about fires. Oregon is on fire.
Congratulations.
No, it's not good. It's a huge fire, and it's absolutely just choking the air with smoke. Yesterday, I walked outside and said, "Who's barbecuing?" And everybody looked at me like it's just Oregon. Oregon is on fire, and it's a place called Eagle Creek, which apparently some stupid kids set off some fireworks and were laughing as they did it, and they set off a wildfire. It's just
Smokey
bad.
would be so disappointed.
Oh man!
What's so sad about that is that is one of the most gorgeous places in the country, if not the world. And what makes it so gorgeous is all the trees and stuff, and that's generations for that to recur.
Yeah, but the thing is with a lot of those trees, the fire isn't necessarily bad.
That's true.
So,
and if they're overgrown, they actually have to be cleared one way or another. And the nature's way of doing it is it's a fire.
It's fire,
so that's okay. But I have a rave as well.
Ooh.
Because this last couple of days,
your house isn't on fire. Yay!
No, my house is not on fire, and I'm very happy about that. But no, Good Eats is coming back in the form of Return of the Eats.
Where is it coming to?
It's coming to Food Network, believe it or not.
Really?
Alton Brown has made the announcement that it's coming to Food Network and it's streaming online. If you watch the streaming online version, you're going to get extra content with stuff that isn't shown on TV.
I told you I got to meet him.
Oh, no.
Very briefly.
Oh, okay.
Because when he did that Feasting on Asphalt, where they drove the season 2, where they followed the Mississippi north. The Mississippi starts here in Minnesota, so he was coming through Minneapolis. Somebody saw them coming with the crew, and then so it was like bunch of people rushed out to the restaurant where he was going to be, and then we kind of ganged up on him as he came out of the restaurant. And I mean, he was very nice and didn't want to pester him too much because they had to get on their bikes and continue filming. Right. But yeah, nice guy.
Cool. And the only other thing I want to rave about is that I did go to PAX this weekend. It was my first PAX ever, and it was a blast. I had a lot of fun. I spent a lot of money on Magic because I did like 3 tournaments. That was fun.
Sweet.
That's all right.
Awesome. Cool. Glad that was fun.
Yeah. What about you, Mike?
So we've talked several times, probably each of the last like 3 or 4 weeks, about how there's just not that much on TV. So books, I mean,
what?
I know
I didn't understand that word. What?
I'm gonna talk about something that is totally non-digital, non-internet based. Books. I've actually read a few books recently, and I'm really enjoying it. I read some of the Harry Potter books again, and I am just now starting Pilot X. I'm only about 20 pages in, so I can't make a legit recommendation. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. And
20 pages I'm it's a must buy.
I would
well, we already know it's a must buy, but
probably have to go out and buy it. Whether or not you read it doesn't even matter. No, I bought it a few months ago, and when it first came out, I wanted to get it when it came out, and I have read it since then. I haven't read it, but now I've started, and it's really good so far. And just, hey, you know, if you aren't seeing something to watch on TV, get a book, Kindle, even, whatever. Just read.
Yep. I've been reading to my son. I need to get back to it. I've been neglecting it for the past little bit because school started and it's crazy around here. So, but Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is what I'm currently reading to him. So,
you gonna read all of the books, all 4 of the books in the trilogy?
I don't know. It depends. If he keeps interested, I will keep reading. So that's how it works. And so. But I pick a book that I'm somewhat interested or I've read before, and I just say, okay, we're gonna sit down and we're gonna read this, and I just read it to him. So
rock on,
because he's the kind of kid who really rather do anything but read. He wants to play video games. So, but it's bedtime. Sit down. I'm gonna read to you. Okay,
cool.
So,
all right. Well, Jimmy, what about you?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the rumors of a new Apple TV that's going to be 4K. This excites me, especially since I'm going to be buying a 4K television later this year. Also, too, what we talked about in the show today, too, about the 4K Fire TV. That also interests me. I may pick up one of those as well. So yeah, really starting to dig the 4K. I think the content is coming along. I would like to see it be a bit more, but I think I can see it coming, and so I think now's a good time to buy.
Rock on.
The Apple TV is when it comes out, is gonna be a big deal because it's Apple, and not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm
just the way they roll.
And if very likely, if they do it right, it will be an amazing product. And they've got all the services on their platform, so they are. Sure. If you're in that ecosystem, it's a good way to go. So, yeah. I hope they come up with the 4K with HDR and everything else that it's supposed to hopefully do all the cool stuff that could do.
Yep,
we'll see.
Yep.
So, for me, as Mike pointed out, you know, there's been. And we've pointed out before, it's been new stuff to watch has been kind of thin lately. And even though a couple shows that I was waiting for came back, they keep getting preempted by stuff like Labor Day and whatever. So I started watching a show called Halt and Catch Fire. Did any of you watch that?
I watched like the first 3 or 4 episodes.
Okay.
I wanted to. I never got around to it.
I find, because I tried watching the first episode a long time ago, but I didn't really have any like driving force to get into it. I am now finished with the 2nd season. All I can say is I believe when they started that show, they set out to make it empowering, like a empowering to women kind of thing, because the main like super bright character is a woman, you know.
Okay.
And I think that was their goal, was to say, hey, look, women are super smart, they can be in tech. I mean, that's what you keep hearing everywhere, right? The problem is I think writers inadvertently wrote scripts that said this is why women shouldn't be in charge.
Uh-oh.
And I don't think they did it on purpose, but when your main character throws a fit and has a total meltdown when her OS has to be removed in order for the product to work and the company not go under, yeah.
Ooh.
The show has it's kind of fun in a nostalgia factor, but I am having trouble with the characters. Just the way they're written. And it's AMC, and I think this is the problem that a lot of AMC shows have with me. Especially like The Walking Dead and some others where it's the characters that just make me not want to watch the show. But, you know what? The final season 4 is airing right now, so I'm gonna push my way through season 3 and see if I can catch up live on DirecTV.
What service are you watching that on?
I'm watching it on I think it was Hulu.
Oh.
The past episodes are on Netflix.
Netflix. Oh,
the past 3 seasons are on Netflix right now, and then season 4 is airing on AMC's right now. It just started like a couple weeks ago, so
excellent.
Yeah, the show could be awesome, but it kind of there's a couple things that make me grit my teeth, but yeah, I guess that's it. So, all right. There's some other things I could say, but I will hold my tongue. All right. I guess we can call it. Thanks, guys, so much for joining me again this week. Just a reminder to all you out there, we are currently in the process of doing a 30-day trial for DirecTV now. Watching the DirecTVs over the interwebs. If you want to participate and watch along with us, go right ahead. Otherwise, if you want to just save your money and check in with us in a couple weeks, and we'll have all the dirty, sordid details. Otherwise, we will be back here next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Central on Diamond Club TV. Probably the last time we will be streamed in this low latency over the beautiful CDN that will be no more. And we will have to send it out in style somehow. If you guys have any thoughts, comments, suggestions, how we should give Muffin CDN a send-off, let me know. That's at the VOD Squad on Twitter, thevodsquad@gmail.com, or you can just give us a shout here in IRC. But until then, everybody, thank you so much. Mike, you do your thing. There you go. All right, bye.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.